Hello and welcome to this training on how to be assertive at work without being rude or aggressive or a jerk. This is part 2 of this training where you will learn what it means to be assertive, what assertive communication is, and you'll also learn the 4 main communication styles that exist and figure out which one that you use the most. Is assertiveness a skill? Well, let me start with this. Assertiveness is your ability to express yourself and defend, right? Either your feelings, your needs, your rights, your desires, your goals, your dreams, your requests, anything that has to do with you in a calm, in a respectful way, without being anxious about it. This is about being 100% respectful, at the same time 100% expressive of who you are and what you think and how you feel. Obviously, selectively, it has to make sense for you, but you're not going to hold back because you fear what other people are how they're going to react, right? Because you're going to know how to communicate in the right way, in a respectful way, and in a calm way that you don't feel anxious about it. That is assertiveness. It's about being thoughtful and respectful and kind, but not holding back, expressing yourself fully. So that's what it is. It's firm, decisive, powerful, and respectful. Here's what assertiveness is not. Assertiveness is not being extroverted. An extrovert can not be assertive. I know many of them. And an introvert can be very assertive, right? Those things are not related. They're separate. Assertiveness is not rude. By definition, it's about being respectful. So you can't be rude or aggressive or mean when you are assertive. And it's definitely not pushy either. And that's, unfortunately, a little bit of the bad reputation that assertiveness gets from people that don't understand what it actually means. And hey, I did not understand it for a very long time. I just had this idea that maybe it wasn't a very nice thing, when in fact, it's essential, right? So you can absolutely be introverted and assertive at the same time. So assertiveness is a skill that really sits in between these 3 areas, right? It's got a lot of communication skill, but it also has a bit of cognitive psychology in it. And it has a negotiation, right? Negotiation is all about influence and persuasion, getting to a yes, right? Communication skills is getting your message across to other people so that they can understand what you're saying as well. And cognitive psychology is about your internal mental ideas and processes, and it's going to help you think more clearly, understand the environment around you, problem solve, be decisive, shift your ideas and your beliefs so that you can be fully you and express yourself in the best possible way, right? So the beauty of assertiveness is that it includes all of those things and brings the best of all 3 so that you can get what you want and be respectful and kind and thoughtful at the same time, right? Can you see why I love this thing and why I've decided to dedicate my career to helping you develop your assertiveness? Okay, so what's the conclusion? Assertiveness is something that you can learn because it is a skill, because you can learn negotiation, you can learn communication skills, you can learn, cognitive psychology. Those are things that you can learn, and assertiveness you can absolutely learn. And here's the deal. You don't need to be assertive all the time. I'm sure you're picturing in your head this really difficult thing that's going to drive you nuts and it's going to make you really uncomfortable, but it's not. Especially when you learn it after it becomes a habit, it doesn't bother you at all. It's actually extremely empowering. And if that doesn't, if you feel like, it's very hard and I don't want to do it all the time, you don't have to be assertive all the time. You just have to be assertive occasionally, right? So when do you need to be assertive? Here are a few situations where you need to be assertive. Other than this, you're just being you, you're chilling out, you're doing your own communication style. It's not a big deal. But when you feel guilty or shameful about an interaction, that is when you need to think about being assertive. Or when you're feeling resentful, overwhelmed, stressed, or confused, those negative emotions, you don't want to stay in that place of negative emotions, right? Something is bothering you, and that needs to be solved, and assertiveness will help you deal with that. When you lead people, and especially if there's some sort of conflict or some difficulty, or if you're sharing a negative message, it's something difficult for people to hear, you definitely need to be assertive. Networking and speaking in public, there's an element of assertiveness there. When you feel like you're having people-pleasing tendencies, you want to really please others, and just for the sake of it to get them to like you, well, yes, you need to be assertive here. When you want to ask for something, right? Ask other people for something that's going to help you or your vision or your team, that's a time when you want to be assertive. When you want to say no to other people, right? So that you can protect your time, protect your energy, protect your team's time, protect your team's energy, protect your family, protect what is meaningful and important to you, right? That is when you need to be assertive. When you're negotiating for something that you believe in, for something that's right, for whatever it is that's going to advance your cause or somebody else's cause or your goals or somebody else's goals that you align with, you need to be assertive. When you express your opinions, your feelings, your ideas, be it in a meeting, be it in a situation, be it in anytime you're talking to people and you're expressing yourself or you're not expressing yourself, you got to be assertive. When you're giving and receiving feedback, criticism and praise, compliments, negative, positive, you need to be assertive. When you feel like other people are taking advantage of you. I don't know if you've ever feel this a lot. I felt it a lot. The less assertive I was, the more people took advantage of me. So you definitely, in those moments, need to be assertive so that people don't take advantage of you, right? Before we continue, make sure you check out one of our free resources to help you develop your assertive communication. You can take the communication style quiz, figure out what your appreciation language is, sign up for the free newsletter for tips every week about assertive communication, get some free trainings, sign up for or watch any of our podcast episodes, and much, much more. You can get all these free resources at assertiveway.com. So go now, put on your Google assertiveway.com and check it out while it's still available. And now let's get back to your training. So what's the first step to be assertive? You need to figure out what is your predominant communication style. Now let me start with this. You were born assertive, okay? However, things have changed and maybe you learned to communicate in different ways when you were a child for different reasons. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. But you were born assertive. So this is maybe the communication. This is not your communication. This is not how you are, what I'm going to talk about. These are communication styles that you adopt nowadays a lot as an adult because you think that's what you need to do or you've been habituated to do so. But it's not necessarily the right thing for you. And I'll explain to you why. So there are 4 main communication types that I want you to think about and be aware of. There's the passive communication. There's the aggressive communication. There's the passive-aggressive, also known as manipulating communication, and there's assertive communication, which I just give you the definition for. So what does passive communicators do, right? They don't express themselves very much. They really want people to like and accept them for, who they are, or even who they are and who they're not. Like they'll change their behavior just to be accepted. They feel guilty a lot. Those feelings of guilt and resentfulness of other people and stress and overwhelm, that's a very common characteristic of passive communicators because they get stressed out, they get overwhelmed. A lot of people want a lot of things from them, and it's just an overload for them. They feel like a victim, like they can't change the circumstances. If things are bad for them, the world is a difficult place, and there's nothing they can do about it. They fear being rejected by other people. They have very low confidence, and they don't express their feelings and opinions a lot in meetings and in conversations in the court or in networking events. They find it really hard to make decisions on their own. They might say, they might always let the other person decide what they want, what they're going to work on, what their career should be, what they're going to eat that night, what flavor of food they're going to take, what their leisure is going to be. They just delegate important decisions for themselves. And they over-justify their actions. Like they always are explaining themselves over the top. They say sorry for things that they shouldn't be sorry for, like, oh, sorry for, going to the bathroom or eating. Like it's your right to do certain things, to express yourself. So you don't have to say sorry for certain things. Avoiding criticism and feedback because it feels so painful, so personal, and it just stings them so hard that they just really dislike it. They deny compliments. Even compliments, they avoid it, they turn around, they ignore it, or they boomerang back and say, "Oh no, you're great," or they say, "You know what? I'm terrible. You have no idea how bad I am." They're very much people pleasers, and some people will accept that, and some people won't. They don't ask for help when they need help. They'll just struggle by themselves on their own. And they don't make a lot of requests either. Like, they don't ask for what they want. Sometimes they don't even know what they want very clearly. Is this you? Does this sound like you right now? Or maybe in some of your interactions, right? I know a lot of people that struggle with this. And I can tell you, I tended to be very passive as a child and in my teenage years and as an early adult, until that wonderful mentor showed me the path to assertiveness. And it took some time. It's not like a change. You see, there's a lot of mindset here as well, right? Like, people who are on the passive side tend to think that they're not worthy. They think, oh, I'm not worthy, or what I have to say is not worthy, or I'm less than others. Other people are more important. You know, they have more things to offer. They might think that my happiness and my rights are not relevant or not important, or I should always help others first. Or they might think bad things just happen to me all the time, and that's just how it is, right? This, oh, sorry, kind of for myself. I don't know what to do. My life is miserable, but I can't do anything about it. That is a bit of a passive mindset and leads to passive communication. And that's unfortunately, you can see from here that this is not good, right? We do it a lot, and we do it under the excuse of being helpful and kind and reasonable and giving and nice. But we confuse these things. Like, we think this is being nice, and this is not being nice. You don't have to do this to be nice and to be giving and to be caring and to be loving and to be respectful. I'm telling you this because I've been there, right? There's this huge confusion around passive with being nice and kind, and you need to disassociate those two things. Now, on the other side, there's the aggressive communicators, and they do express themselves, but they're very pushy and disrespectful when they do so, right? Because they do control and command in their leadership style. They might try to ridicule others and humiliate others so that they can feel better. They might use insults and accusations to try to control people and their behaviors. They're condescending in their language. They don't listen a lot. Like, the passive type will always listen and will hardly speak. The aggressive type will speak a lot, will interrupt others like crazy, and will not listen. And they always want to be right. They'll force their decisions on others, even when it impacts other people. They give very harsh criticism, and not in a nice way. They don't give a lot of recognition or compliments at all. And they threaten and they take over conversations, and you feel like they just talk all the time. The mindset for them is that they need to do whatever it takes to get stuff done, right? Do you ever think that way? That maybe other people need to be they need to be tougher, and that they're too sensitive to what you say, that it's their problem that they're too sensitive, right? It's not your problem that you're too aggressive, or that success is about winning and being right. Now, here's what happens a lot. We have a lot of men, sometimes successful, that are very aggressive. And typically, a lot of women tend to be passive, right? And I'm not saying this is always the case, but this does happen a lot. Now, let me tell you about passive-aggressive communicators. And I've done a lot of passive-aggressiveness, manipulative behavior as well. And that doesn't mean you're wrong. That doesn't mean you're mean. That doesn't mean you're trying to hurt people. It just means that you are frustrated and you don't know how to deal with it, right? It's a mix of the passive and the aggressive. You are aggressive in a sense, but it's highly vague and hidden. And you're passive in many ways because you don't feel comfortable speaking up, but you don't want to be the poor person, and you want to get your way through. You feel like a victim, but you still want to do things about it. You want to get things in your way, and that's where this subtle aggression happens. So, what do passive-aggressive communicators do? They don't express themselves directly, right? They're very vague and indirect. They'll manipulate others to get what they want, and even if they don't intend to manipulate, it just happens. Like, I'm going to tell you one that I used to do, the angry face, and a lot of people do this. You do the silent angry face. You look at someone, and for the whole day or the whole week, you disappear, or you look angry every time they talk to you, and they don't know why, and they ask you why, you don't say anything. So there's nothing, but you give them that look, right? That's passive-aggressive behavior. You're being aggressive in a subtle way, but you're not expressing, you're not talking about it. Feeling guilty, resentful, stress also happens with passive-aggressive communicators, and feeling like a victim, fearing rejection, having low confidence, all those things that passive people tend to be as well. They're vague. They over-justify their actions. They blame others. They use excuses a lot. They deny aggression. So this is a very important characteristic of passive-aggressive communicators. Somebody might come to them and say, hey, you're being unreasonable here, or you're hiding things. And they're going to say, no, I didn't do anything. I didn't, I'm not responsible for this. So they'll deny anything that they're doing. But they expect people to recognize them, even though they don't say anything. They expect others to recognize all of the sacrifices that they put. And they use the silent treatment, like I shared with you. And then we have the assertive communicators, right? And assertive communicators are great. This is full confidence. Like, they express that confidence, exude confidence all over the place. They respect other people and they respect themselves. They're not rude. They don't manipulate. They're very direct, very to the point. They know and they protect their boundaries, their priorities, and those of their teams, their families, whoever they care about. They're very deliberate about their own choices and what matters to them. They'll disagree with anyone openly without an issue, but in a respectful way. They have their own opinions about all sorts of things, right? They'll listen to others, but they'll also speak up. They take responsibility for what they do or what they don't do, or what they say or what they don't say. They'll give a lot of negative feedback, give a lot of positive feedback. They'll promote their work, their conduct, who they are, right? They'll self-promote a lot, and they'll promote others in their team, and they know that that's just a healthy thing. It's not bragging. They'll ask for what they want so that they can progress. They can progress their ideas and their goals, and they feel good about themselves because things are moving ahead, and they'll grow, and they have this very positive mindset, which I'm going to share with you in a moment. So, which are you right now? Which communication style do you use the most in your professional interactions with your boss, with your employees, with your spouse, with your children, with your friends? Now, I can tell you that often when you are one of these, you are with one person, you tend to be with a lot of people. But it tends to show up stronger in some cases, in some situations, in some interactions, in some relationships. So which one is the one that happens the most for you?